Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all well. I was waiting to see if someone else would join, if anybody else would join us, and somebody else did, but then they just gone back off. But that's okay. So hope you're both well, and we'll have a look into the subject in due course. This is the third of three explorations we're having of what grief is, what loss is, and how to manage it. You may have noticed that I'm slowly but surely acquiring a beard. Hi, Kirsty. Hope you're well. Hi, Patricia. So we'll just wait a minute or so just to make sure that everybody's on board. And hi, Morna. Yes, this is a beard that's growing very, very slowly, very raggedly. So we'll just wait another minute or so. Someone else was on and then came back off. And then we'll start with a short practice. And I hope you're both bearing up with the challenges of lockdown. I know how difficult it must be for someone in a caring position when you're at home. And of course, we try our best not to get too affected by what's happening in the news. With your namesake, Kirsty, that sounds somewhat unfortunate. But it's so easy to get caught up with negativities in the news, and there are things that we can deal with and things that we can't change and affect. And I've always believed, though it's hard to put into practice, that if we can't change anything, we're as well not knowing about it. And so we should be very careful about what we watch in the news, how much news we watch, and how much we allow our mind to be affected by the news and to then spill it into conversation, which is what normally happens. And then all our prejudices come out and all our gut reactions come out, everything that mindfulness teaches us to be wary of. Okay, let's start with the practice now. If you can sit with your feet flat on the floor, hip width apart, small at the back and against the back of your chair, your back nice and upright, so you're feeling alert. One hand on top of the other, thumbs gently touching, head dipped down a little, and eyes gently closed. Just allow your mindful mind, so a deliberate, clear, but relaxed mind, to start to look in yourself and just notice, perceive what your mind is like just now. Whether it's quiet and quite peaceful, whether it's still got a kind of negative adrenaline running from a busyness of the morning, you've had to try and get things done, something hasn't gone right, and somehow or other it still lingers there like a tingle in the mind. And I'm noticing outside the bin men making the noises as the bins get emptied into the big trucks. And I notice my instant frustration or irritation that the timing is just when we're doing a practice. And then I breathe in, I just let it go. So the noise is still there, but it's not there as a distraction anymore. And I don't have a negative frame of mind about it. Hi Mary, just join in. Eyes gently closed. Just noticing what our own state of mind is like. Whether it's quiet and peaceful, whether it's happy, cheery, whether thoughts are going into it. Like you might have the thought, well, you should do this in another room if it's going to be that noisy outside his house. Just notice these things and let them go. Just continue to notice. See if your mind changes by itself, or it lingers with the same mood, same feeling, or if there's nothing there at all, just keep your eye on it. And try and do so in a light, relaxed way. So it's not some heavy-duty task you're doing. It's just a curious, interesting thing. Now take your attention to the breath. Just normal, light breathing. Place your attention just inside the nostrils. It's where the sensations tend to be clearest and most easily noticed. And it helps if you can think of the in-breath as clear and fresh and strong, and the out-breath is slow and quiet and peaceful. Just feel those sensations and just enjoy them. Again, don't think of it as a task. Don't think about doing it right or doing it not right. Just notice. Clear, fresh, flowing in. Quiet, peaceful, flowing out. And notice that these are things that we think of as good. Think of things that are clear as a good thing. Think of things that are fresh as a good thing. We think of quiet as a good thing. We think of peace as a good thing. So we're getting 4 sensations, all of which are positive and give enjoyment. Breathing in, clear and fresh. Breathing out, quiet and peaceful. Clear and fresh, quiet and peaceful. The mind starts to become clear, and the mind starts to become peaceful because of the association with the words clear, peaceful, clear, and peaceful. And you can think to yourself, may my mind be clear all day today. And may my mind be peaceful all day today. Simply an aspiration, a kind of inner wish, an inner hope. May my mind be clear all day today. Not overreacting, not getting caught up in things. May my mind be peaceful all day today. Not getting frustrated, irritated, angry, feeling at the end of our tether. Just calm and clear and able to deal with anything. May my mind be clear all day today. May my mind be at peace all day today. Now take your attention away from the breath. Take it up to your eyelids. Notice them at peace, very light, very calm. And now, in your own time, taking a minute or two, just allow yourself to find your eyelids very slowly and gently start to open. And as they do, keep your eyes downward gazed and unfocused and away from the glare of the screen when you open your eyes. Trusting your eyes to return to attention when they're ready in their own way. And in the meantime, just continue to enjoy the quiet peacefulness of the practice. Okay, just take your time coming out. I hope you found that a nice start to our time together. So, the subject of grief is obviously inherently challenging. It's talking about one of the most painful aspects, I think, of a person's life, if not the most painful. And yet, from a mindfulness point of view, if we can take a step back from it, not from a cold, logical point of view, but just a clearer point of view, grief is one of a whole series of reactions that the mind produces under certain circumstances. Just in the same way as grumpiness can be the result of a person's genes, anger the result of what somebody did or didn't do or said or didn't say, irritation at things on the news, frustration at somebody not finishing what they said they would do for you, all these emotions, and also the positive ones. Delight at seeing someone we haven't seen for a long time. Humour at a joke or something silly. Getting a feeling of joy if we see maybe a squirrel running up a tree, or even better, as I had the really good fortune to see last Friday evening about 9:15, a deer just outside our back garden. Now we're 5-minute walk along the main road from Carrigan, so it's not as if we're in the middle of the countryside, just in another modern housing estate like many people. And it was awesome to see. I just feeling of wow, and I was so excited I almost ran down the slope to get into the house to tell Christine. But these are all just human emotions. And an emotion is a response to something, either something inside us or something external. And grief is a big one. It's the response to loss. And although we think of it primarily about family or a really good friend, also extends to pets, maybe even loss of a house that you've had for a long time. You can feel a sense of grief if it's been your home all your life and then you're leaving it, which obviously sometimes happens with people going into care homes. So we get attached to a person or a place or a thing. And when we're removed from it, one way or another, we've evolved to have a sense, a feeling And we call it grief. We call it mourning, loss. But imagine that we hadn't evolved to have that. Imagine we evolved to have just total gratitude and love for the fact that we've known this person or this place or this thing for so long, and that we were filled with gratitude on their dying or them being taken away, which is what we're slowly moving towards in funeral services. It used to be, certainly when I was young, I don't know about yourselves, but it was always about the mourning and the loss, and then the bit about, depending on if it was a religious one or not, which mostly it used to be, if it's a religious service, about but the compensation is that they're now with God in heaven. They never ever say about, depending on how God judges you, which is probably not the done thing at a funeral. But, that's what they say. And that's like consolation for the loss. But now, often a service starts, I think, healthily with, we're here to not just remember, but to celebrate the life of so-and-so. And while it's still mingled with loss and grief, there is an attitude that's changed, and I think that's inherently positive and welcoming, that we can see death in a different way. We can, depending on circumstances, of course, but we can see death as the end of someone's life, a life that's to be celebrated. And we can celebrate and be grateful for what they've given us, the memories, the relationships, the contact, the connection. But that's hard because this ancient response mechanism called grief is so deep in us. And yet, even without mindfulness, if you say, even without deliberate practice, a lot of people find that they can be more grateful and happier about having known the person than they would have expected at their death. And so I think that shows both the potential of mindfulness to turn grief into gratitude and happiness of having known someone. So there's a potential there. And also I think it shows just how much more it could be the case if we deliberately try to practice it. But of course, there are various levels of grief as well and types of grief. I've mentioned this before, that certainly in my losses, and there's been a lot in recent years, grief can be healthy, and you can feel waves of grief, that kind of strange feelings. If you've all lost someone, you'll know this. It just is like a tsunami at times. It just goes over you and takes you completely over. But there's something healthy about it. And if you can take enough of a step back, you can feel it being healthy. In the same way as being completely washed is healthy. But on the other hand, you can also know when this is really dragging you down, when you're unable to function and you're unable to get sufficiently out of the grief, even for a while, to be able to go on with things and to be yourself, and your family can notice that you've changed and that you're struggling. So we need to distinguish between these two. I think healthy grief has to be noticed and accepted and kept an eye on just in case it turns bad. But otherwise, you just go with it and accept it as part of the healing process. In the same way as if you break a leg or you strain a muscle, the pain is part of the healing process. But these difficult waves of grief are inherently deep. So we know about deep emotions. It's funny when you explore these things in mindfulness, you start to realise that we talk about things and think about things without ever really exploring it. So, we talk about a deep emotion. Well, what's a deep emotion? It's not like it goes from the top of your head further down your body. It's not a physical thing, but it feels like that. It feels deep and it feels physical when you get a deep emotion. It's as if it takes you over bodily. And whereas a light emotion is just kind of over here somewhere. And there also, a light emotion seems sort of lightweight so that you can just shoot it away. Whereas a deep one seems to be bogging you down. And if something is deep, what we learn in mindfulness, and this goes back to, the origins of mindfulness in the teachings of the young guy, started when he was young, called the Buddha. And he talked about depths of emotions and depths of feelings. And he wouldn't have used the word antidote, but that's essentially what he was talking about. If you feel anger, can you cultivate in your mind love? Because the love counters the anger. Because they're kind of opposite. When you're angry, you hate. When you love, you don't hate. And therefore there's no anger. And it's the same with all emotions have their sadness, happiness. If you're sad, can you think of something happy? And it dilutes it and almost neutralizes it. So if grief is a deep emotion, then you need a deep response. And as you've probably experienced with, the work I've done with you and maybe other work you've done in Tai Chi, even in yoga, and with other mindfulness teachers perhaps, or other recordings or apps, that there's different levels, and there's different levels of practice depending on what the teacher's teaching, but also on how you're receiving it and how you're responding. So some days, no matter how deep the teacher might be teaching it, your mind might be just at that level, and you're kind of getting a wee bit from it, but it's a bit distracting, you're bored a bit, and so there's nothing coming of it. So it needs to have the two things in place, the depth of the practice and your own ability to go deep. And going deep comes with time and practice. That's why quite often in my practices, I actually use the word deep and slow. And I took that from the great Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. I heard him say it once in a recording, deep and slow. You can even feel it, as I'm saying it, I can feel it. You just go take it down slower. So just go deep. And slow. Deep. And slow. So the use of words and the use of time, silence between words, can affect you straight away or pretty quickly. And this is the techniques we try and use to counter the deeper emotions. They require depth in themselves. And there is a process to be done. When we have the negative feeling, if we feel it's deep, firstly, we're not in control. So the first thing is to become aware that that's how we're feeling, and then to be aware or knowledgeable about the fact that you can do something to counter it, and then have the will to actually do the thing to counter it. And they're all different challenges. So that's why we practice every day, so that we are more likely to automatically do these things. And this is the hardest part, which is why we've left it to the end. We need to notice when we're drowning in an emotion. And that's hard. Why is it hard? Well, because we're drowning in an emotion. And if you're drowning in it, you're not thinking about it. You're just experiencing it and feeling the pain of it. But if we can get the mind sharp enough just to notice a bit, or have family members, who also might start to do mindfulness, and they can see and say, I think you need to do a wee break, have a wee practice. And then you're moving into the next phase, which is the trying to allow the mind to get to a depth. And that's where the techniques of using words and using images can help. I was once taught another one, which I used fairly frequently till I was told afterwards by a person that they had a fear of water. And the practice was about depth of the ocean. I'll say it, so if any of you are scared of water, then just try and treat this lightly. So the idea of the practice, so it's a visualization essentially, it's an imaginative thing. So you do a normal practice, breathe in, breathe out, try and stabilize the mind a little bit, and you're getting a bit more in control. And what it's saying to you at that point is, imagine that the surface ideas and thoughts in your mind, reactions, responses, just like the sea on a quite choppy day. So you can see the waves going up and down, up and down, up and down. And then in your practice, you say, well, you mentally allow your mind to go down into that sea. So that your mind, first of all, just sees the stuff on the surface, or gut feelings or reactions, etc. But then you bring it down with each breath. You go down another foot, say, then down. And then you start to realise as you go down into the depth of the sea that it's all still. What's going on is just on the surface. The mind underneath it is stable and deep and peaceful. And if we can take our mind to that depth and that space, then the mind can settle and all the stuff on the surface can disappear. So that's the sort of thing that we can do with waves of grief. And of course, there's the word similarity of waves. Can we go from waves of grief to take the mind to lower down than where the grief exists, to where peace can exist, and we can become stable again? And then when we become stable again, we can rise back out of the practice into everyday life, and lo and behold, the waves of grief have gone. So that's the idea of it. It does take practice. Sadly, I've had a lot of practice to do with grief, but it does improve with practice. And it can, even if it doesn't fully take you out, it can take you out sufficiently to get on with life and deal with just the ebbs and flows of ordinary grief. And then I think it's always useful to have a smile of remembrance about the person whose loss has caused your grief. So just now I'm looking at the collage behind me, and the person in the middle with my mum is my dad. So my mum and my dad, mum in the white jacket, my dad in his suit. 3.5 weeks apart, coming up for 8 years ago, lost them. And to their, I'm sort of trying to think, that way, up there. I can't even do it. Right to the far end, up there. That's my aunt, Danka, age 15, when she was only 3 stone 12, as a result of being in a labour camp. We lost her in November. So just 6 months ago, and I was very, very close to her. She was my dad's closest sibling. And then either above my dad is my grandmother, and above her another picture of my grandmother, who I never met because she died during the war of starvation. And down diagonally from my dad, the bald-headed man above the postcard, is my grandfather, who I also never got to know because he died during the war of cancer while in the Polish resistance. And you can look and smile. You can maybe a little wave. But love and gratitude can be built up and created just as pure response to a loss, as much and as rightfully and as readily as grief. But it takes work, it takes practice. Okay, so let's do a practice, bring in some of these things. I won't use the sea analogy in case people have got fear of water, but we'll do something similar. Hi Charlie, glad you could join us. We're just about to do a practice, a good time. So if we can sit with our feet flat on the floor, hip width apart, small the back in against the back of your chair. Back nice and upright, so we're feeling alert and alive to the day. One hand on top of the other, thumbs gently touching, placed in our lap, head dipped down a little, and eyes gently closed. Allow your attention, or imagine your attention to be eye level, in the form of a long, thin, cigar-shaped cloud that protrudes either side of your temples as well. And your mind feels clear, and it feels quite light, so it's quite relaxed. And now it gets lighter. And as a result of getting lighter, it starts to very slowly, gently float upwards. So it goes up, past your eyes to your eyebrows, up through them to your forehead, slowly rising through the forehead to your hairline, up through your hair, and then it's free from your head, and it keeps rising till it's about 6 to 9 inches above your head. And there it comes to just a lovely gentle stop. So now your attention is above your head, which means you get a better overview. You're able to see the bigger picture, take everything in before responding. And your mind is so light that there's no effort required for you to keep your attention clear. Just feel your attention clearer and clearer, and very, very light, effortless. Now gently allow the attention to float back downwards and into your mind. Start to notice how your mind is just now. It's almost like your attention is like a gel or almost like a ghost-like substance that can just slow motion float around, check everything out, every nook and cranny, every emotion, little feeling or niggle under the radar, little moments of humour. It can see it all in real time. So who's there now? Which version of you inhabits your mind? Is it empty? Is there no one in? Is there a happy mind, therefore a happy you? Is there a peaceful mind, therefore a peaceful you? Or is it fidgety? Is it concerned? Is it rankling? Is it disagreeable? Only you can tell. Or is it a mind that's restless and just pops up with a thought, saying it's a really nice day today, I wish I'd finished this earlier, could have gone out. Just thoughts that just flare up, take you over, then disappear. So we start to see what our mind is like at the beginning of the practice. Now we take the attention down to our eyes. Just notice how the eyes are. And if they're feeling a little bit tired, gently just look and move the eyes along, lightly to the left, to the right. Maybe up to the ceiling and down to the ground a bit as well. Or round in a circle, round the eyeballs, and the eye sockets. And the eyes start to loosen up a little bit, so we feel a bit better generally. And we can relax the muscles of the mouth and the tongue and the jawbone. So the face becomes peaceful. And now we take the attention to the breath. And start by taking it in to your lungs. So you're feeling it from your lungs point of view, which means you become aware of the lungs expanding. And as they do, they put pressure on the rib cage, the chest, and it pushes out. And you feel the strength of your lungs. Excuse me, it's quiet. And as you breathe out, you feel the rib cage and the chest slowly sinking back in. And then back out again. And back in again. You can feel the depth of your body. From the chest to the rib cage to the abdomen. And you can feel strength as you breathe in. And you can feel as you breathe out. And allow the breath to become slower and deeper. So that it's about half its normal pace. And it continues to flow in till the lungs more or less reach their capacity. You don't need to make it feel really tight or sore. Feel the strength of it as you breathe in more deeply, but slowly. And as you breathe out, you feel moment by moment slow relaxation in the chest, in the rib cage, in the abdomen. And the air continues to go out all the way till the lungs are completely emptied. And then you start to breathe back in again. So it's very slow, measured, very deep. And just try to enjoy each moment's experience as you do this. Don't think of it as a task. Don't think of it as difficult or easy. Just experience it. Then slowly allow the breath to start to get a little less deep and a wee bit less slow. And over the next 5 to 10 rounds of breath, slowly let it come back to normal. So you can see the way that you can very subtly and gently control your breathing. And then take your attention to the tip of the nostrils. Just enjoy light, relaxing breathing for a minute or so. Anytime your mind gets distracted, that's okay. We never get annoyed at it or at ourselves. Just notice it, and we take the attention back to the breath, letting the distraction fall away by itself. So whereas earlier we were in deep mode, now we're in relax, easy mode. But we're still being mindful. And if we were in a period of grief, deep grief, we would take this semi-break, and then once we felt relaxed and refreshed again, we could go back into the big, long, deep and slow breath to get the benefit from that again. And when we feel the time's right, we could come back out the same slow way, reducing the depth, increasing the speed a little bit until we get back to relaxed mode. But we'll just stay in relaxed mode just now. The in-breath feels clear and fresh and it's lovely. And the out-breath feels nice and peaceful. And that's it. We just experience these things as our life experiences in these moments. And we enjoy them. And we notice our enjoyment of them. Now you can think to yourself, breathing in, I'm grateful for my own life. Breathing out, I'm grateful to have known everybody I've loved and lost. Breathing in, I'm grateful to be alive. Breathing out, I'm grateful to have known these lovely people in my life. See if you can both inwardly and outwardly smile as you think these things. Grateful for my own life. Grateful for other people's lives. So today is a new day for us. A new opportunity to enjoy being alive, to make the most of being alive. It's also a new day to remember and celebrate people we've loved and to continue to love those who still have a life. There's so much opportunity. So much opportunity today, even this morning, to just celebrate being alive. Make the most of it. The sun is shining. And to make the most of our life for those we've lost. So we kind of are living for them or on their behalf. And the air flows in nice and clear, very lightly. And the air flows back out and we're at peace with everything in the world. And it's as if our attention is so clear and easy that the attention and the air have merged into the one thing. And it's your attention that flows in. And your attention that flows back out. And it feels like clear, 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 clear. Peaceful, 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 peaceful. Clear, 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 clear. Peaceful, 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 peaceful. So your life right now is clear and peaceful. Because that's what you're experiencing. Now, allow the attention to leave the breath and take it down to the tips of your toes. Just notice how they feel. They might be a wee bit stiff, a little bit numb from sitting still. So you can start to just gently loosen them up. Still being mindful, you're noticing what it feels like to loosen your feet and your toes. Become aware of different parts of your feet, depending on what, if anything, you're wearing on your feet. Socks may be more subtle. If you're wearing slippers or so, you might feel it in the insteps, in the bottom, your soles and your heels. And then we can just gently lift the ankles and the Achilles tendons one at a time. Start to loosen them up, stretch them. Notice how good that feels to the mind and the body. It's really nice to loosen up. You can loosen up slow, you can loosen up fast. Then we can place the feet in the ground again in a way that allows the calves and the knees to relax. And then we can just let go of the muscles of the thighs, so the quadriceps and the hamstrings, they can just rest and relax. So that the thighs, the knees, the calves, The ankles, the feet, the toes all feel loosened up and at peace. Just notice them and notice the feeling and enjoy it for a second or two. Then take the attention up to the fingertips, the tips of the thumbs. Notice touch, beautiful, sensitive, gentle touch. You can start to slide the fingertips against the other fingers, bringing an awareness of them to your mind and the pleasure of the touch. And eventually that can spread to the back of your hands and the palms of your hands as if you're washing your hands in slow motion, but washing them with touch, gentle, light touch. Eventually we can become aware that the wrists would like to loosen up, and that feels good. The wrists don't like to be kept still for long periods in case they get too stuck. And then you can relax the forearms to the elbows and then the upper arms to the edge of the shoulders. And if we want, we can just let the arms, elbows, wrists, hands, fingers, thumbs just lying loose either side of our body. And then take the attention to the muscles at the small of the back and just rest them into the chair, followed by the long, strong muscles of the upper back. And allow the shoulders and shoulder blades just to come down if they want to and sit wherever is best for them. And if they're stiff, you can gently roll them, loosening them up. Not too much, just enough. Get a bit more flexibility in them if you need. Then take your attention to your neck. Be careful with the neck. It stiffens quickly if we don't move it for a wee while. And some of that can be a wee bit sore when we try and stretch it back out. So just little movements in different directions. I tend to go round in a circle and just tiny wee probes. And if it allows me to go further without being sore or too stiff, I do that. Which loosens it further. And if it's stiff or sore, I don't try and push it. Just go to the next part of the neck and slowly but surely round 2 or 3 times. And it tends to take care of the neck and loosens it up. And the body and mind respond really well to the neck being loosened. Feels really nice. We can finish loosening the neck by gently turning it one way, as if to look over our shoulder. Just stopping where we begin to feel the tightness, so you can feel the benefit of the tightness, but it's not sore. And we hold it there. And then, very slowly, carefully back to centre, and keep it turning, so we do the same at the other side. Enough of a stretch to feel it and know there's a benefit. And we hold it, and then slowly, carefully back to centre. Finally, up to the eyelids. Just notice them at peace for a second. You feel the peace of the eyelids. And then, when they're ready, taking a minute or two, just allow your eyelids to very slowly, gently start to open. And as they do, keep the eyes downward gazed and unfocused. Trusting the eyes to return to attention when they want to. Try and keep them away from the glare of the screen if you can. And in the meantime, just continue to enjoy the quiet and the peace of the practice. Take your time. Okay, that's me out of my practice. Feel good for it. Just take your time if you're still slowly coming out. But otherwise, hope you found that helpful, useful, practical. And Charlie, if you missed the part where I was actually talking about grief and waves of it, and how to handle it, then you'll get this on record, I think, as well. So I hope you found that of help. Hope it set you up for a good day today. If you can get out, and that depends on circumstances, both inside the house and around, then make the most of the beautiful sunshine. If not, just open the windows and feel the combination of warmth and a wee bit of wind, wee breeze. Okay. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care. Keep well. I'll just wait for people to write comments if they want. My pleasure, Kirsty. You keep well and have a good day. Thanks, Charlie. Yeah. All the best with everything. Take care, everyone. That's me.